Good evening, everybody. And if you're just tuning in, you're listening live to United Public Radio Network. Yeah, and I am the host of the Angel Rock, which you're listening to. My name is Lorilei Potvin, and I'm from Canada. I'm a psychic medium. I'm also a crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner. I'm a medical intuitive, spiritual teacher, and mentor, and I'm also a nurse. And we are broadcasting to you live out of beautiful New Orleans, Louisiana. I want to give a huge shout out to Joe Montaldo, who is the owner of United Public Radio Network, as well as he is the producer and host of many wonderful shows of his own here on the network. So I want to give him a huge shout out because he does all the hard work. So I can just sit here and chat. Also, if you've never been to the Angel Rock, I almost said my guest show instead, but you'll understand why in a minute. What I cover is all aspects of the supernatural. I say anything from ETs to UFOs, the paranormal. We can be talking about world issues. Sometimes we talk about the power of the mind, power of positivity, energy work, past lives. And my show is always about my guest and the amazing things that they do that makes a change for the positive for humanity. And tonight is no different. He is my partner in crime because we live together, and he is also a host on this network. So I love that he does this at the last minute to join me to have a stimulating conversation. So welcome, the Dell. You want to tell them all about you and your show?
Sure, yes. Thank you very much for pulling me in as the backup. I'm almost like one of those people that are on the bench there says, "Oh yeah, this person's injured. This person's injured. Oh, we have to call in the Dell to
The
go and
Dell.
fill the spot." But
You're the pinch hitter, and you fill in. I always say to you though, we don't get to talk about these things half the time because we live together. So we always
yeah,
have a stimulating conversation when we're on the air.
yes. So yeah, my show is on Tuesdays at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on here UPRN Talk Radio 107.7 FM, and it goes around I guess every country almost in the world. I think it's what is 170, 180 countries or something like that, and we're listened to. And if you're watching, you can watch on YouTube or on any other part that they have video. I think it's Twitch and Facebook. The video goes live, and I don't know all the rest of them there. I just say, hey, YouTube is the best one, anyways, that you can go on there. That's where we see most of the chat stuff there. But we're on StreamYard, and we are in Thunder Bay, which is in Canada, doing a show out of New Orleans with the owner that's in Mississippi. It's just funny how technology works. It's great.
Actually, we should remind people because a lot of people may be trying to find us on our YouTube channel, regardless of where you find us. So there's many Facebook pages. There's a UPRN page or UFO paranormal page. There's news on the flip side. There's Joe Montaldo's page. So we've got about 5 streams on Facebook, and like the Dell said, on Twitch. But come on over to the UFO Paranormal Network channel on YouTube. That's the one where we usually interact with people. I like to make you part of the show when you're in the chat if you've got questions or comments, because we really appreciate that you support us and you show up for the shows every week. So thank you so much. Or even if you're listening on the archives, thank you so much for supporting our network. And you may want to share with a friend, let them know about the amazing programming we've got here on United Public Radio Network. There's something for everybody here, as well as yeah, you can listen to archives. There's lots of great shows out there. So yeah, let a friend know all about it. So I said, what are we going to talk about tonight? We're just going to have a kind of a potpourri. I'm going to head over to the channel so that, like I said, because we do try and involve you and we can see all the messages. We should explain that to people. We're on StreamYard, which allows Joe to be able to stream to all these different places, but we can't interact with the chat. Only Joe can because he has the magic fingers and he's the producer. So that's why we say come on over to YouTube, because we can also chat and see what you're saying too there. So there's some crazy stuff going on in the world. It's like it's not connected, but it is. We were talking on the paranormal host chat, and we've been talking about this also on the Central List on Friday nights with our host panel about this so-called UFO ET disclosure that supposedly is coming through the U.S. government June 25th. I'm seeing all kinds of crazy paranormal activity, pictures. Never mind, we'll talk in code this evening since we're on YouTube, but the JAB and some crazy stuff. I'm hearing about the zombie apocalypse. You got anything else crazy to add to that, Del? I'm sure you do.
Well, during the hour break that we sort of had there between the host chat and that I was just watching this Louder with Crowder
Yep.
bit that was going on,
Mhm.
and if people know about the H3H3 podcast with Ethan and Gila,
Yep.
whatever. I guess there was sort of a little, I guess, internet or chat there going around there, whereas H3H3 says, trust the government, trust the doctors, and they're basically bashing Stephen Crowder. And he's
Wow.
going, listen, I says, I'm all for do your own research, get your information, just don't trust what the government or a doctor is telling you that's never seen you.
Mhm.
And they're going and basically saying, hey, just be stupid. H3H3 is saying, just bashing him, saying, no, no, just trust the government. Just trust what they're telling you. You just go and get this stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that people would be that naive to think that people in charge have your best interest at heart. And I guess maybe that's a little bit of a stretch of the thing that they would think that what they're telling you helps you when if you ever deal with doctors or anything there, you always get a opinion, a second opinion. You research yourself. You just don't blindly trust somebody that's selling you a bag of cookies thinking that it's going to be good for you,
Yeah,
maybe.
but that's the problem. And I think I'm a completely different person than I was when I first met you. Not that I couldn't think for my own. I've always asked myself since I was a small child, why does everybody think they have to follow others? Like, use your brain. We all have one. You don't need to follow everybody. But what I'm finding is, and I'm going to pull up this example here. I do want to give a shout out to Michelle Pratt. Good day. She's in Australia. She's been tuning into our
Mm-hmm.
programs. Welcome, Michelle. We're glad to see you here.
Yep.
um, is there's this Romana Dadilo. I hope I've said that right. And I know I've mentioned her to you, and this video is kind of going viral. So I thought, oh, geez, I'm getting more messages here. I got to turn off my messenger because I keep getting distracted. Anyways, this woman has come out of nowhere and has this video out there, the first party of Canada or the new party of Canada or something to that effect. And she just showed up on this video and said, hello, I am Romana Didildo or Didulo. I think everybody's calling
The
Romana.
dildo.
They
The
are.
dildo.
I'll just say it because I'm going to say it anyways. Anyways, she shows up and she says, I am your new commander in chief. I have been put in charge of the Corporation of Canada is no longer exists. So we are now, I think she's calling it the Republic of Canada. And I've been put in charge by the people that are helping President Trump, because I know that'll trigger things. And the US military has appointed me as your commander in chief and the White
Um,
Hats. And right away, you and I looked at each other and went, not happening. No way, no how. First of all, it doesn't matter what society you live in, whether it's a utopian one, whatever. I even use the example of, for example, everything that went on over in Iraq many years ago. US military was in there, got rid of the dictator, or so it says. I mean, we do a whole show on that one. But the thing is, the people of Iraq elected their leader. So this woman has come out of nowhere, and I just about died. I was incensed because the comments that people were saying, yay, this is wonderful. We'll follow you. This is great, because she was saying everything that everybody's hungry to hear,
mhm.
that you're committing crimes against humanity and, the whole BS. I won't get into it. There's a reason why I mentioned this whole big long story, though, is I even had to explain to a few people that are usually quite good about critical thinking, and they know what's been going on here in Canada, and they're saying, well, anything can be better than Mr. Pink Shorts, we'll call him. And that's not what it is. Being psychic and being very clairaudient, all I kept hearing collectively from spirit, as I call it, is talk is cheap. meaning anybody can tell you anything you want to hear. So, what we need to do, I think, as a people is question, first of all, why now?
Hmm.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Where did you come from? Where I was going with this was when I got a little bit off track with talking about Iraq is if you do have a leader in an ideal society, even if we're going to have a new society, whatever it may be, leaders are there to work with the people, and the people choose their leaders, ideally.
Hmm.
So, my whole point is where did critical thinking go with this? Like, why did you not, instead of lapping it all up, not you, the global you, and saying, oh my gosh, this is amazing, this is wonderful, I'll follow you blindly. And there were thousands of comments like that.
Hmm.
I don't know. What's your thoughts on this, Del? I know it's a long point, but
Well, this gets into this whole part of talking about thinking for yourself and researching for yourself and critical thinking. There's this cognitive dissonance where people just believe a certain way, and I think the part that's sort of been lost, and we've talked about this many times there about how the programming works.
mhm,
Right? You, as a little kid, you ask questions, you go to school, you're given the questions and the reasons for why and stuff like that. So you're basically told what to think and how the system works. And then
mhm,
after you're done school, you don't question anything anymore, and that's not at globally global you. A large majority of the population believes that still is that, oh, this is what we were told, this is what it is. They don't question things anymore, and I think this is why how cults start. This is like, I think we're in the cult of COVID right now, and people believe it, and you get the Karen Chaz's, whatever stuff like that happen because they believe they're in the cult of COVID and stuff like that.
mhm.
But the thing is, so is this comes into the big problem is that I think more people, and there's a lot of shows out there that are on this network and other places there too as well, that are not off that are off of mainstream media and stuff like that, that ask you, hey, here's the stuff, here's the information, and here's the sources. Look at it. Don't believe me, but look at it yourself. People are too quickly ready to just go and just pick up their phone and just go, oh well, Wikipedia says this. Do you know Wikipedia
Yeah.
is publicly altered and done? Like, I can go into a Wikipedia page and edit it anytime I want to.
That's what she's using to this Romana dildo to tell who she is.
Right.
It's a Wikipedia page. How could you not know what?
Right.
You're right. Like we could go to the Wikipedia page right now and change whatever we want on her page, on anybody's page.
Yeah, yeah. There's an edit button in blue that's down at the bottom of the text where you can go. I've done it myself there, even with my brother there, because we were learning a song there, and somebody had put the wrong tablature in there. So I went in and edited with my brother. My brother's a music teacher down
Right.
in Southern Ontario, and we went in. We fixed the tab, edited it right on Wikipedia. I'm going, wow, this is really easy. I says, wonder what else I could do.
Yeah.
And you can see it. Go to any page. There's a blue little edit. It says in EDIT down edit, and you just go and change the script on there, change the line in there. And there's people that are with Wikipedia that go and they look at these edits, and that sometimes they catch them, sometimes they don't. But I think going on. See, now I'm talking too long, but the thing that goes on there, what you were saying there, is that I think people are sort of fed up in Canada. This is my opinion. This is not what this whatever, but I think people are sort of fed up with the way government and rules and regulations have sort of been hap, I'd say haphazardly or just forced on people, and they're looking for somebody that would sort of bring them out of the funk. And this woman, their dildo that's come out here and stuff like that, they're like, oh yeah, yeah, we'll agree with that because that's better than what we have right now.
Yeah.
And that's how groupthink works. That's sheeple thinking.
Yes.
That's not critical thinking. That's not any thinking. Period. And this is what I always say. Like I say to my shows, like that delicious recipe. You throw everything in the pot, and you know what? See how it tastes at the end. Some may like it, some may not, but at least you're thinking and do your own research. research yourself, and don't go look at places just like Wikipedia or your favorite celebrity, what they said. Research from many, many different sources. I tell you this all the time there, Laura. It's just like I go, I go through the good, the bad, and the ugly of sources. I listen to everything, and then I judge my own opinion and make my own mind up off of that. And that even goes even with this Frankenstein virus that is sort of gone around there, and government saying that you have to get this or we're not going to open up, and that's just retarded thinking, because how does government know your medical history, your personal makeup? That's the same thing why you go to a doctor, you question doctor, oh, I got cancer. Oh, and then you go to another doctor says, no, you don't have cancer, you have this. Like, you go and check things out before you
Well,
just
that's a point I want to make. I want to stop
jump
for
off the
just
cliff.
a sec, though. I want to give a shout out to Spirit Medium Daniel. He was the one that messaged me, and he's tuning in. So, welcome, Daniel. We keep an eye on the chat here. You're joining just a few minutes late. This is actually my real partner in life. He's a host on UPRN as well, Vidal, and we're kind of going all around the world and back again tonight. We're going to talk about a bunch of things. Now, that's an important point, because depending on what era you're born in, and being a nurse, I've really seen this. Your mother has worked in the field. I mean, you've known enough people that have worked in the field. And I find that it's pretty well the baby boomers, kind of people a little bit older even than myself. So what are we, the Gen Xers, I guess? I can't remember what
Yeah,
we are.
we're Gen X, yeah.
Okay, well,
65 to 80, yeah.
okay, so what people do is the doctor is God. Whatever the doctor says, we do what the doctor says. We don't question it. We don't. No, that's wrong, because they're human just like we are. No, I'm not saying every doctor is wrong. What I'm saying is every single human being has something called, what you want to call it, your gut. Whether you want to just say, it, you know, maybe that you know what's right, or you know that it's wrong. You don't know why, but you just know it, or claircognizance, as I would call that. We all have that. So, for example, and I'm not bashing who I see for healthcare myself, is that most of us in our city don't have a family doctor in Canada here, but in Ontario where we live. So I have to see somebody regularly, and he was a bit of a child prodigy. I believe he graduated medical school at the age of 22. So many months ago, I went in to discuss with him about this job, because my concern was, with what we were doing through our own research, where we're heading is kind of what we're seeing. And they basically said that no, this JAB will not be mandatory here in Canada, but you won't be able to go to work. You won't be able to go to a shopping mall. You won't be able to go to school. You won't even be able to access medical care. You will be stuck in your home, basically. And that was my whole point. And I have to give him credit with the fact that he said, no, I don't agree that anybody should be forced to have any medical treatment whatsoever. That's not right.
Mm-hmm.
But when I started talking to him, and I said to him, well, what is the impetus for creating something safe for others when we can't sue the manufacturers of this? And he said, what are you talking about? You're absolutely wrong. You can sue them. And I said, no, you can't. And he said, oh, yes, you can. You're wrong. And then as I started to talk to him and educate him that this indeed was not something new, they've been trying to put this out for over 20 years ago, talked about the ferret study. And again, we won't get deep into that. These are things, if it resonates with you, please look it up. We want you to look these things up and take a look. You will find it. And he had no idea some of the things I had told him. So I'm hoping it might have given him a little food for thought, and maybe did some research. But he was all pro for this, because he had read this 90-page study from Big Pharma. Now,
Right.
what we're seeing coming out in the research that we're doing, there's been quite a few untruths even in the research that we're seeing that's out there. So when you're just using one source, right? And then people go in with that mentality that we don't question the doctor. The doctor knows better than I do. We do what the doctor says. That's how you end up in a scenario like this, right?
Right, exactly. And I've mentioned this, I think it was on the host chat there on Friday and that. But just for food for thought for listeners that are out there, if you can, I think it's about an hour and 19 minutes. It's on a YouTube channel called The Last American Vagabond, and it's an interview with Dr. Hodgkinson, and he's born in Britain, studied in Canada, virology, pathologist, and stuff like that. And if you listen to this study and listen to this interview, he brings up a lot of points that are things that are there that, like, the guy's not. Maybe he is he lying to you? Maybe he's not. He's telling you the
No,
truth
I
that are there.
his stuff, and I'm quite impressed with a lot about what he's put out there himself, actually.
Right. But the thing is, though, is that it puts a whole different spin on everything that's going on, where mainstream media is pushing one narrative. He's like explaining this, and like, this is a doctor studied, was a teacher in the universities, and he has no love lost for Dr. Fauci and what he's doing there with this gain of function research, and the money that's being spent through backward channels going down there that is funding this. And he breaks through the double speak, and it's a very interesting interview. After this show, go watch this one there. Like I said, it's a really great uh, it's interesting stuff, and he's not alone in this either. There's other doctors out there. You can go and find this as well that talk about the same thing, and about how people, the sheeple, the public, the populace, don't do the research, and they just believe what they're being fed. Right? As long as the food bowl is full, I'm ready to eat. That, right? Nobody wants to go and do anything about finding their own
Talking
food.
about this, you and I just wanted to read the one comment from Daniel, because he said, I sure will. Probably something we just mentioned a few minutes ago. But he says, my wife was also a nurse. She's an empath. So you're well aware, then you've heard this yourself too, Daniel. But we were talking about this, and again, this is just an idea we were throwing around. There's no proof out there. There's nothing. It was, and again, if it resonates with you, do some research, see what you find. You can let us know next week what you found. Share it with us, because it's almost like a hive mind mentality from people
Mm-hmm.
that have had the JAB,
Mm-hmm.
that it's getting to the point now where no matter where you go, when somebody's had it, it's constantly, when are you getting it? When are you getting it? Are you going for it? Are you going to go? Are you going to go? I've been talking to people that are adults, but
Mm-hmm.
with the way the economic climate is, they're back home with their parents, and the parents are phoning and making appointments for these children and their adult children who have made the decision they're not going to do this. But it is just incessant. You're
Right.
just talking about that, right?
Well, this comes into, this is the predicament that I'm looking at, because I've been pestered by this by a family mother,
Mhm.
a family mother. But the thing though is that this is weird. Okay, so what does it matter if I have this shot, jab, whatever? What does it matter? Okay, if you got it, that's good.
Mhm.
You have the same rate of getting sick and transmitting something, the same thing that I do without getting it.
Mhm.
So, what does it matter? So, if you got that and you feel that you're safe and you think you did a great thing for civilization and the world because
Good.
you're on that thing there, great.
Mhm.
That's good. You're safe. Why are you worried about me not getting it?
Mhm.
Right? Why are you pestering me to get this thing
Mhm.
that I know in my own heart? And I talk to God because I'm spiritual. And he says, Dell, you don't need to have this. You have a strong, healthy life. You have herd immunity. You have stuff that are in you. Maybe you already got part of this flu, influenza, jabber, whatever you want to call the COVID thing or whatever. Maybe that I already have that. I have not talked to a doctor that's done any blood work on me to do anything and checked out my medical history and stuff like that before I go and take something that somebody somewhere else that has no history of me and wants to inject something into my body. Does that make any sense? Does that would be like going to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, well, you know what? Your leg's a little short. We got to cut this one off and
Or
give you a robot leg.
you might come into cancer is on the rise. You might end up getting cancer one day. So let's give you
Chemotherapy. Yeah,
preventative
right.
chemotherapy just in case.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That,
But
that that makes no sense. That's critical thinking gone out the door. Like that's the retarded. I'm bringing retarded back again. I love the word
right,
retarded, and
yeah.
I think we're in the world of retarded people. That there's like this like the Karens, retards, and all the rest of them. It's like people like, oh well, you're gonna kill us all because you did. Says, well, hey, you got yours thing. Good, you're safe.
Well, you know what,
Don't
Michelle,
worry.
that's got a good point here, and I'm really glad you brought this up, Michelle. You've said, I feel people are thinking life will go back to normal when they roll up their sleeves.
Yeah, it's
Um,
not. Yeah.
but that depends where you live, because I can tell you right now, she's not here tonight, but she's usually here. And I know she shared her story openly. That's the only reason why I feel comfortable about this. A nurse from our city. We live about 35-40 minutes away from the Minnesota border. So we're back and forth usually across the border all the time. And this woman, her husband is actually from I think Grand Marais. It's about 2.5 hours from Thunder Bay. So they drive back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And for anybody that is married to somebody from another country, it's pretty expensive. It takes quite a while to get your paperwork sorted out. Long story short, these two have not been able to see each other since this started. Now, she went and got the JAB, and he did too. They were told that if they got it, that they indeed would get to see each other. Nope, not happening. Not happening
Mhm.
at all. And it depends where you live, because we are in a very dangerous, precarious situation where we are. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of laws being passed without anybody knowing about it, a lot of laws being broken without anybody being known about it.
Mhm.
And the way we're heading, um, something's got to give. That's all I can say. What do you think?
Yep. It's so
Canada.
weird. Like you said, when we have our premier here, or the Southern Ontario and Northern Ontario are basically two different countries in a
Yeah.
way, totally two different sets of population, size wise, and stuff like that. But rules for a small, tight packed metropolis down in Toronto area are making rules for an area up in Northern Ontario that has a lot of space.
Or what
And
we're seeing is leaders from all over the world where there's one rule for thee, one rule for me. For
yeah,
example, in Canada here, our Mr. Pink Pants, as we refer to him, there's pictures of him, our leader, if you can call him that. He has made people that have left the country, or if you're visiting Canada and you're flying in, you have to have the swab up the nose before you come. It can only be a certain kind. And then when you get to Canada, you are taken directly to these crappy hotels. You
that are owned by Chinese companies.
you have to pay between, we've heard anywhere from about $800 to $2,000 at least for the first 3 days until your test comes back again. You have to have another test at your expense. You are basically given prison food, and we have seen videos of this. This is not
Mhm.
rumor, okay?
Yeah.
This is at your expense. You cannot lock your door. The locks have all been taken off. There have been women sexually assaulted. Okay, people, and it's more expensive for people too if you have to stay, if the test
Mhm.
is back positive. Never mind what Canada has set their standard for this test. It's almost 3 to 4 times higher than what's been recommended for this particular type of test. So basically, all these cases we're having aren't even cases. Anyways, long story short, Mr. Pink Pants has decided he's going to start traveling internationally. But is he going to stay at the COVID jail? Uh. He's going to a special hotel. And you can bet for darn sure he probably gets to order his own food. But the main point I'm saying is you make all Canadians do this. Now, as Canadian taxpayers, we get to pay for this special fancy hotel that you're in and whatever else you get to order and do. But it's not just in Canada. We're hearing about this all over the world. This is happening.
Hmm. Yeah, this is an issue that I've brought up many times, and this is the part that I don't understand, and I don't understand why the rest of Canadians aren't asking this question. Period, is when JT's Pink Pants wife was in Italy when COVID was happening back then, and then she came to back to Canada, and they JT and the Sunshine Band and the family all went out to their place in the Muskokas, and she had the sea, and he's there. So this is the Prime Minister of Canada, and he's with his wife. He's not affected, but she is, and they're in the house together with their kid, and he's doing all of his business out at the lake. And then the other part there is that Canadian taxpayers are paying for all the upgrades to this cottage in the Muskokas, and like, where would that ever seem rationally plausible that you would actually do that? Why would you put the leader of a country with his wife that is infected in the same place? Like that just makes no sense. Period. So no, you have to wonder about the logistics and the what this whole problem was, because there's a lot of stuff. There's another thing I should tell people to go and check out. There is done by Johnny Hoover channel there. That there's a part about where they're looking about suing Fauci and the government about the legitimacy of all their claims with what's happened during this pandemic, or you should call it an epidemic of government retardedness. Anyways,
No,
that
I
sort of.
can share Michelle's comments here. And for those people, we don't always discuss these kind of things because I'd like to even gear this into what we're seeing paranormally with all this energy out here. This is crazy, some of this stuff. But Michelle, and she has some really, and Michelle, we are hearing this from people all over the world, and my heart goes out to you. She said, I didn't get to see my kids for
Mhm.
over a year due to state lockdowns in Australia. She said it's horrible what this is doing to all people. I agree. And she said
Mhm.
here in Australia, Victoria is in lockdown. However, the football team from Victoria could fly into South Australia to play football.
Mhm.
WTF, how bad is this? We're seeing this is happening all over the world. I know that the US has been opening up in certain states, especially down in the South. But up here, I haven't even been able to tell the doll this. So I was out picking up a few things. We have been in the severest lockdown that we've ever been in. And you haven't been able to buy anything except certain foods and a few prescriptions. Even baby items have been on lockdown. You could reach over the rope and grab them, but you're not allowed to buy them.
Mhm.
And this started right after Easter, and he was talking, our premier, about reopening finally. And then May 31st, I believe, he had this secret meeting here in our province. 66 members of parliament did not
Mhm.
show up, so they didn't even have enough for a quorum to have a vote. They passed that he has now got the power to do this till December 1st of
Right.
this year. But when I was out, I heard a sales clerk answer to a friend, I guess, that was shopping, that if all goes well, depending on the government, where would you ever think you'd hear that one, right? Depending on the government, we may reopen Monday next week. So let's hope so. But my
Yeah.
whole point is, collectively, and there's a real divide here. So this is why we're bringing all this up, and we're saying to people, really step back. Like, even if you can't find the answers, and again,
Mhm.
this is just my opinion. I know Dell shares it, not identical to mine, but I call a lot of things, I say I put them on the proverbial back shelf because it really is hard. It really is hard to sift through the truth. You almost have to detach emotionally, step back, like there's no box, like not even thinking outside the box. There is no box, and really ask those critical questions, like not just because somebody's telling you something that you want to hear. And
Mhm.
you were the one that opened my eyes to this, because when this was all starting, you were watching the mainstream media going, what the heck are you watching this crap for? And your words were, Laura, we need to look at everything to see what everybody is saying, so that we can be objective when we see something. Does this match up? Does this not match up? And be objective. But my thing that I was where I was going with this is there are certain things that don't match up. I'm not
Hmm.
sure. Could it be true? Maybe, but it also could not be true. So I call that the proverbial back shelf. I tuck it up back here. I say in the back of my mind, because I'm a real firm believer that the truth will prevail. It eventually will come to light,
Hmm.
or it'll get debunked in some way.
Yep, that's true. And you have to wonder, like, if this goes with even in any type of business and stuff like that, when you go from being the lowly worker to going into management stuff there, management never really tells the truth to the workers what's going on because they think, well, they don't need to know, right? And it goes the same thing with government. It goes the same thing with military stuff. There's this whole divide between what is military and civilian. There's a government and the populace, and it goes in with companies. The same thing. The trickle down, the people at the bottom, basically, they want to say they're the thing that rolls downhill, and they have to put up with it. And it's
Mhm.
all through decisions of people that may not have your best interest at heart. And that's a real thing, and that's it's true to life. And like you said there before, is that a lot of people don't care about what's going on outside
Yeah,
of their bubble,
we've seen.
right?
Oh, hmm.
Right? Until it affects them in their bubble,
Hmm.
they don't care about it. I just had a conversation with a couple of my friends on there. I shared a video and stuff like that, and they're like, "I don't care about that. It doesn't affect me." But until it does affect them, then they will like, "Oh, why didn't you tell me?" I did tell you. It says I told you to look at it. Don't believe me. Here's some information. Just watch it. How much is that of your time? But I think that this whole programming, I don't want to keep on saying programming, but this whole thing of this quick, get information really quick. They can't get the answer that they need right away and look at many different sources. They're not interested. It takes up too much time out of their bubble. They'd rather be doing something else that they're focused in. Then they don't realize that this other thing is affecting what how they're living.
I realize that, but collectively too, and no, we're not just talking all gloom and doom. We will eventually, we usually come back around to it. I always try to end my show on a positive note. But I said we were going to talk about Paranormal Story Hour, but where I'm going with this and segueing into it is that collectively, energetically, and we were just talking a little bit about this on our previous host chat, is I've never seen so much divide, infighting amongst families,
Mm-hmm.
amongst really close friends, marriages ending. I said, like, lately it's either people are having a divorce or a baby. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it seems to be. And but with this fear, this anger, this depression, this anxiety, collectively, if we go back to the rules of energy, and I won't even get all woo woo here, but when we're talking energy, that's what people tend to think. It's very astral, or as we like to call it in the light worker field, woo
Mm-hmm.
woo. But no, the one of the laws of energies is that it can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be transferred from one place to another. Now, when you think about it, our bodies, depending on what source you read, I'll go with 80% are water. And you were the one that brought this up again when we were thinking about this with the full moon. And I used to say, and Daniel, I'm sure your wife could attest to this, or anybody else that works nights with people, um, that you never had to look at the calendar when you're working nights. You
Mm-hmm.
knew when a full moon was coming, you knew when the full moon hit, and you knew a couple days afterward. And you were the one that said, well, of course the full moon is going to affect people. Look at, we're made up of so much water. Look at the effect that the moon has on the tide, which is
Mm-hmm.
true, right?
Yep.
The reason why I'm saying this is, so we need to drink a lot of water. Water can pick up energy collectively. Like, I think it was Dr. I'm going to mess up his name. Is it Makoto Mitsuko? I forget what his name is. Japanese researcher that had a glass of water here, glass of water there. Had, I think, at a school, and had, and or people. It was a busy place. They were told to say awful, hateful, angry. really low vibrational words to one glass of water. The other one, they were told to, I love
Hmm.
you, positive things. And
Yep.
microscopically, the images were dramatic. I know you know that, but
Yep.
there's a point why I'm saying this is so when we've got this collective lower vibrational energy, we're mostly made of water. Our water sources are
Hmm.
going to be picking up that energy. We are then ingesting it. You can see why there is a heck of a lot of paranormal activity, never mind with the mental health issues and everything else that is happening that's very tragic, like the amount of suicides
Hmm.
and so forth. Are you seeing that in your research, Del? Like a lot of strange entities, increase in activity?
Well, there seems to be a lot of stuff that I see online, but going into the whole thing about ingesting things and that water process and that is that you see when people get away from ingesting things that are natural, like and you can see the Gates Foundation is a big one about bringing this Impossible Burger or this fake meat burger coming into there, and you have to look at what your diet is. You have fluoride in the water. You have the whatever other chemicals are in the water that are supposed to keep you healthy. And hey, look at I'm all for a lot of this stuff there, but you have to look about what you're putting into your body, and this goes in with the shot, the jab, whatever you want to call it, and also the food you're eating. Uh, the chemicals that you're getting in from the grocery store in the meats, the vegetables and fruits heavily chemicalized. The what's that? Modest, not Modest. Let's see.
Moderna?
No, not Moderna. No, Monsanto. With the stuff that they do there in the chemicals and the stuff that are in there to eat actually naturally to grow something there. You can't even get seeds nowadays. It's very hard to find seeds that have not been GMO'd from a GMO product. And that like we've been trying to plant for over a year here. All the plants like they grow a little bit and they die, and
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. It's just crazy. And but there's so much things. This is why it's so important to critically think about what you're doing in your life and what you're eating. I'm a total carnivore. I love meat, but the thing is, so is that. But you also have to look about the other things that are involved in production and that when you go into this whole thing about factory farming. And then if you look at the vegetarian thing
Mhm.
about how many animals and birds and that do they displace by production
Mhm.
and things that you're not supposed to actually ingest in yourself, like to
What
make
about
your
the aborted fetal cells with Cenomix? And folks, you can look that up. S is
yeah
in Sam, ENOM as in Mike, YX. Look that up. Aborted fetal cells for flavoring in many of the big name foods that we eat and drink. I do want to read a few of these comments. Sorry, Don, I didn't mean
sure
to
yeah
there. Spirit Medium Daniel says, through a channeling message, my wife and I knew the virus and the first stock market crash was going to happen. I believe, I don't know if it was months or years, it's going to happen 2.5, I don't know what time frame prior. And then he says, we were telling people during readings, we told those who could handle it. Exactly. I want to thank Carrie Langdock. She's over on Facebook on our UPRN page. Dr. Emoto, thank you, was the one that did the water study. And then Michelle Pratt says organite rebalances water, and that's why it works on us. Well, guess what, Michelle? I'm making my first, or you can ask Dell. I just poured another layer just before we went live. I am doing resin. I am making organite. I am making organite pendants, organite pyramids, all kinds of stuff like that. That is part of it. But I'll be very honest with you, and I haven't even really had a chance to talk to the Dell about this much. I did speak with somebody here from Canada. I watched a really interesting interview. She calls herself a clan mother, and her name is Karen McDonald. She was a NICU nurse like I was here in Canada, as well as a maternal newborn nurse. And she did an interview with Alfred Labramont Weber, who's a good friend of Joe's, and he is an international tribunal judge There's a bunch of countries working on this with what happens with common law, which goes all around the world. I'm actually a part of that as well. So it was quite and I'm trying to remember this gentleman's name. It's Tony, and he has I'm gonna screw it up. Sorry guys, it's been a long day, and I, believe it or not, I have not even been to bed yet. Since Saturday night I've been busy doing all kinds of stuff, crafting and whatever. I wish I was out having a good time, but anyways, this gentleman has Morgellons disease, and he claims to have cured it, but he's super knowledgeable about Tesla technology, about a lot of this technology that is, and I believe is in the JAB, and how to possibly negate it. He's saying things like crystals are not going to work, Epsom salts, the usual things, because this is what I think people are thinking. Because with previous jabs, which were actually VACCINESs, this is not, even though they're calling it that. Yes, there is ways through chelation and nutrition and all kinds of things to help detox, but we're not dealing with the same kind of technology or anything to that effect. He was talking things like EMP strikes too, possibly, but he said, I don't know enough about it. I'm still researching. And if you ever want to check out his channel, he's got a podcast. I think he's got a website. It's N as in Nancy, D as in dog, E, P as in Peter, E, N as in Nancy, Z or Z, and I believe it's .com. Check out some of his stuff. It's pretty interesting. He's pretty knowledgeable, and a lot about what he was talking with the science and stuff made a lot of sense to me with some of the research I've done about this JAB. Does any of that resonate with you at all, Del? Have you come across anything like that?
Well, this is if you're looking at this whole part and why I'm sort of so leery about this JAB and
Mhm.
that is looking at anything else that was ever tested in the history of the earth and stuff like that, medically wise, besides what the Nazis were doing down
Open.
before and that,
Mhm.
but where they advanced history so far by doing experiments on human people. This almost seems like an experiment on the populace around the world by these certain chemical companies.
I agree.
Are and the thing is, was that any other time that there was ever been a vaccine that was done, and people will argue, says, "Oh, well, this is new technology; it works faster." No, it doesn't. You still have to have tests that are done over a period of time. They were calling this Operation Warp Speed. We're just going to go right through this and get this going, and don't worry about it. They haven't looked at anything about what this does to you for sexual reproduction
No.
later on in human and females. And I'm sorry there, folks. There's only two genders. There's only a male and a female that can create a baby. I don't care whatever else your mind wants to think.
Mhm.
But there's no talk about that. There's no talk about what it does to infants, child as they grow up, what it happens with any of that. They understand this is not a vaccine, it is a medical instrument, and
Yeah.
this has not been told to by mainstream media, period. It's also self replicating injection. So it goes in there, it keeps on creating indefinitely and it cuts DNA.
Well, we
So
don't.
a whole bunch of
Well,
different things that are involved in this, a whole bunch of things that are involved in this, and people only just took it because they thought they were going to be free and be able to go back to how life was before, and they never ever stopped to look at what
what
are the consequences.
And that's only what we've been told. Like Carrie Langdock said here, Art Bell had a show in 1997 with scientist Charles Oatman about
Mm-hmm.
what would come either internet and nanotechnology. All, sorry, I'm trying to read. Comments are going crazy. All happened or happening now. Spirit David said, have to go ride my bicycle, but we will talk again. Enjoyed the show. Have a great night. Yes, David, I will definitely read your message. Thanks so much for popping in. I really
Mm-hmm.
appreciate it, and I will definitely get back to you. And then Carrie Langdock said, I said to myself, yep, happened. Yep, it's called Amazon. Yep, it's called Facebook. Yep, virus and vax. Yep, fake meat. And I have to agree with you. But the thing is, I was on Dr. Rima Labo and Ralph Fusatola's show last Tuesday, and I'm actually going to be on this Tuesday. A bunch of us from the International Tribunal judges are going to be on there. No, Dr. Labo's been quite loud about this. She was married to Admiral Byrd, who apparently was very, very, very high up in the military. He had to do with the defense division, and then he became a whistleblower. And she is a doctor. There's actually an interview when Jesse Ventura, who used to be a wrestler, who became believe it was a Wisconsin governor. You can correct me if I'm wrong about the state, Del, but he had a show talking about so-called conspiracy theories, and he revealed a heck of a lot that first season. So I'm not a fan of Alex Jones. Again, looking at all information sources, Alex Jones interviewed Dr. Labo, or Dr. Rima, as we call her, in 2009. I watched that interview. It's recently surfaced. That show was only shown once on Jesse Ventura's show. The Fed showed up, apparently, and this interview disappeared, and I'll explain why in a second. And there was one other show that Alex Jones was talking about that this happened to. And that's why the show started going more in the second and third seasons into things like Bigfoot, alien agenda, UFOs, things like that, because they were revealing far too much. But the reason why this is so imperative is Dr. Labo, or Dr. Rima, was talking about all of this in 2009. Like all of this, that this was coming, just like you said, Art Bell. Carrie did a show.
Mhm.
She says, I guess she used to care for the elite, like people like royalty, people that had a lot of money. And in this clip of the interview that I saw, and again, 2009, she is talking about a patient walks in from aristocracy. She didn't say what family or what. And her words, Dr. Rima reported in the episode, she said, her patient says, well, it's just about time for the great culling. And as Dr. Rima responded and said, I beg your pardon? Well, the great culling. You must have heard of this. And Dr. Rima said, no, maybe you might want to explain. And she said, well, it's time for all the useless eaters to basically be taken off the planet or removed, or whatever word you want to use, because they're consuming all of the food that's meant for us. And as Dr. Rima said in the episode, who is us? And she said, well, those of us with money, those of us that are the royalty, those of us that are the higher ups, basically, like the ones that basically whoever had the most money and most toys kind of thing, and
Mhm.
most power. And the rest of us we were disposable. So she started looking into this with her husband, who has now passed away. Now, these are her assertions. She believes her husband was murdered for being a whistleblower. And she talks about it very openly. So, and she's still quite open about this. And I have to give her credit. Um, she's got to be in her late 70s, early 80s. This woman works harder than three of us put together. Like, I don't even know when she sleeps. But the thing is, she's got a good point. What she's trying to find right now is a lab. And Del, you and I were talking about this. This has been the problem, though, to be able to find a lab, because I don't know how many of you have seen. This is how I don't know how people that have had the JAB haven't noticed this. People are talking about the shedding.
Mhm.
And Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, actually, I like what she says. It's actually a transmission, because shedding actually comes from a normal VACCINE. Um, this is not a VACCINE, and they have no idea. I mean, women are experiencing all kinds of things. There's bleeding, there's blood clots, there's strokes, they're getting miscarriages, even late term pregnancies,
Right.
children, blood. I mean, you can go on and on and on. What is
And
causing this? Sorry, I'll stop
and
talking, Del. Go ahead.
and we're not even 9 months after they've started giving this jab anyway. So there's been nothing done with research on there. But this is a funny thing that goes into this part. I know we go all over the world, all over the page, all over everything there in this
Mhm.
potpourri of topics. But this thing is that is sort of interesting is we've noticed, and I've talked to you about this many times about programming from Hollywood and stuff like that, about things that are out there. And I was just thinking about this movie from 2013, Elysium, that had Matt Damon in there, where there was the hierarchy of the wealthy, rich people that were above, with
Mhm.
all the rest of the people below. And then you look at other shows that were put out there, and you got to wonder if this is pre-predictive programming that are out there, so that when people actually start talking about, hey, maybe this is the divide that's going on, that these people, Bill Gates, who's a eugenicist, that believe in this stuff there, right? Oh, I'm here to help the world and fix all the stuff in Africa. Well, I'm testing out malaria vaccines on the people that make them sterile. Like, this is
Well,
all
that's
true.
what I found out. The tetanus shot is actually, I had heard about the big debacle in Africa that women that were getting tetanus shots were actually being sterilized. You go back, if you look at Dr. Carrie Madej or Made,
Hmm.
Madej, uh, apparently this has been in the tetanus vaccine since 1976. So
Right.
I've had this argument with our wonderful producer that tells me that infertility is not an issue. I used to run an infertility support group in my city. I am an infertility patient, and I can tell you that infertility is definitely on the rise in certain populations, and she gets
Hmm.
into that.
Right.
Or even the TED Talk. Sorry, that's all I wanted to bring up. Bill Gates' TED Talk
Hmm.
about how the population has increased, what it's projected for, but with proper health care and VACCINES, and I forget what the other one was, that we can probably get that down by quite a few million or billion or whatever his words were.
Right.
But where have you ever heard with proper health care and good VACCINESs that that's going to decrease the population?
Yeah. Well, this is the interesting part that goes in there. In 1901, the
Hmm.
population of the world was 2 billion people. We're
Hmm.
in 2021, and we're at now almost 7.7 billion people. Okay, so you have these philanthropists. I hate the term philanthropy because it's been uh, bastardized in a way there, that these people, it's a tax break, and that they're not philanthropists like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and Jeff Soros and everybody else. That they don't give away anything. Basically what they're doing is they've made the population lab rats, and they're testing it on third world countries. And this is the most amazing thing there, period. And so Bill Gates was asked in an interview, right, about the vaccine that they got and done there. And they said on the news, says, "Are you going to go and share this with the other vaccine companies so they can produce this to
Yeah.
save the rest of the world?" He says, "Well, I will, but only for a price."
Yeah.
So where is philanthropy and that come
How
into the
much
mix of it?
do you need?
I got the cure here, but yeah, you have to pay me for it.
Mhm.
Right? That's not philanthropy. And mainstream media, CNN, love him so much, and they're going, "Oh, he's the best guy in the world." Yeah, and you got to wonder there. This whole Bill Gates thing there, his connection with Jeffrey Epstein, even after Jeffrey Epstein was charged with pedophilia, and that Bill Gates was right there. So was Bill Clinton. Right after all, he was already charged. They were right there doing business with him. Bill and Hillary Clinton, Bill Gates, and Prince Andrew, all these people that hold a lot of money and a lot of sway in
A lot
how
of
things are
power.
done, right? And they're right there in this. This is why this is really interesting. Why this Ghislaine Maxwell stuff is being sort of shelved down and put down on the bottom burner there. That she's not yapping about anything. I would fry her anyways, but they want to know what she's going to say. Well, she's also a Mossad agent, anyways, like her father. So she's not going to say anything. Just, I'm sorry to say, like, you know what? You're a waste of space. Let's get rid of you and just go after the other people. But the thing is, though, government, especially American government, Canadian government too, is crooked. JT and the Sunshine Band, him and his father, what they did, and with the royal family, unbelievable. You can go and look up this stuff there, people. Go and check it out. Don't believe me? Go check it out. Do the research. If you don't do the research, don't comment.
Mhm.
That's the one thing I'm going to say. If you're not going to really to go out and look at things and research it, don't comment and say, "Hey, this is all a load of crap." But look into this. People that are in power that are making decisions are very connected. There's a few that are good, but a lot of them are not. They're only in it for
Follow,
themselves.
follow the money. I used to hear that all the time, and I wondered what it meant. And once you do, there's a really good series I suggest to a lot of people because there's more and more people that are waking up. We're almost past the point of waking up now. We really are. It's kind of like get into planning mode. And there was a filmmaker from Holland, Janet Osberg, who did Follow the Cabal. Excellent series. Now she has done the sequel to the Fall of the Cabal. Now, the reason why I mention this, the first episode of the sequel gets into the history of all this. This actually goes back as far back as 1000 AD, where this all started, a lot of this stuff. But believe it or not, and she kept saying every episode, no, no, I'm not going to talk about Bill Gates anymore. And she would find more stuff. Like I knew a lot of stuff after watching this, and she's still not done the series. I think she's on episode 14 coming up, and she said she found more stuff. I watched an interview with her. They're going to go back and edit and add more. This will blow your mind when you see, and she'll tell you the same thing. And I have great research, great respect for people that do this. If they're going to be a whistleblower or they're going to share information, but they'll say, don't trust what I'm saying. Go out and do your own research because
Mhm.
take a look at this because most of this stuff is so incredulous. This is what other people are thinking. These people are crazy.
Mhm.
They're conspiracy theorists. Like there's no truth to this. And what
Right.
I
That's the whole thing that they said about tinfoil hat people, right? They made it a joke, right? If they can go and make a joke out of something to make them sound like they're crazy, that's the thing, right? There's all the memes about tinfoil hat people.
but what I don't understand, okay, and I'll put this into perspective. Somebody I know locally I talked to, and these were their words, not mine. No, I'm not a rocket scientist, and but I'm certainly not foolish. And they said I'm a poker player. And my family is harassing me incessantly to get this JAB. But they said when I just look at the odds, when I have a 99.5% chance of surviving everything with this, having no issues, yet so I'm going to go and roll up my sleeve, take something that's never been tested. This is we human beings are the test subjects.
Yep.
And I have just as much of a chance, way greater chance of dying from what's happened with this versus getting the actual disease. Why would I ever do that? Why? I don't even need to understand the medical. These were his words. I don't even need to understand all the medical jargon and all this stuff. You just have to look at the numbers and look it
Hmm.
up, and it doesn't add up. Hmm.
Yep. That's exactly true, right? Because this is the veil of stupidity that people have been sort of placed under that that's been sort of spoon fed through the media, and that your actual chance of dying is actually greater by getting the JAB than it is by catching catching something which is probably you're going to survive from anyways. And that's why I said if you look at if I tell people the Last American Vagabond podcast with Dr. Hutchinson, he explains this all with the percentages and through history, and he says this whole gain of function research that they're doing, digging up old viruses and weaponizing them, and
Hmm.
then the probability of those escaping from a facility is greater than you actually catching this thing.
Hmm.
That's how lazy people aren't looking at why are you doing this in the first place? If that would have been long and buried and gone, why are you going and playing with stuff that you don't need to play with? Right? This is how sick military and black budget projects and governments are. If you think that Mr. Pink Pants and Trump before him and Sleepy Joe don't know what's going on with the other stuff there, and they're just double talk and drive. They know exactly what they did. It's all a cash grab. Pharmaceutical companies retarded. Do you think that he's ever going to go in the states lower drug prices down there and make them more available? No, because they make money. You think everything that is done there is to make money. And if you don't realize this, that you live in a Nazi-esque capitalistic type society where money rules everything. If you don't realize that, and why inflation, a potato 50 years ago and a potato today is the same potato, they shouldn't cost two different prices. If you don't realize that, then you know what? Then you've been snowed over and you're deeply asleep.
Okay, so then so what we've been seeing too is wag the dog type things because they really do want to. We only got about 40 minutes left. They said we were going to talk about paranormal and UFOs and what have you. So here we go. We've seen the CIA come out. Never mind, I'm even going to back up. When there was that video of the little tic tacky thing with the pilots that came out, when it came out many, many months ago, I remember the headline. The government, US government, has basically admitted that this is a UFO and nobody's really cared about it. We're in the midst of what was going on last year. I think it was June, a year ago. So then the CIA came out. This was probably about 4 months ago. Might even been before Christmas because I know my friend Michael Roser, who works with Third Phase of Moon and has his own podcast, Dark Hour Paranormal. He's really into UFOs and stuff. So I knew he would kind of have any inside information. So I had him on my show when the CIA supposedly released everything they had on UFOs and extraterrestrials. And of course, in typical alphabet soup fashion, uh, yeah, they gave probably all the paperwork that they had. They said there was no video, there were no photos. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, that's an
Sorry.
interesting noise.
Yeah,
And,
that's sorry. That was my other phone there.
okay, and then everything that they did release was redacted. So now we're coming up to June 25th, which is supposed to be the big day. They're going to release all this information. And it's like another wag the dog situation, right? Don't pay attention to the little man behind the curtain here, what he's
Hmm.
doing, because take a look over there. So it's almost like this is a big carrot they're waving, right? What do you
Yep.
think?
Oh yeah. Well, that's. I think we talked about this on the other show
I
there
know
too, as
you're,
well, right?
I'm trying to segue us into some, instead of having a 2 hour show just talking about all the negativity here. We said we're going to have a little bit of paranormal in here, so let's throw some in here and talk about it.
Yes. Well, that's the thing that, like, if you're looking at the part there, is that you have to wonder why. Like, I think it was mentioned that, oh, this was put in a bill that Trump had put in a year ago, but you have to also look at the logistics of this. Is okay, well, maybe this was all a setup because of everything that's going on. Like, you understand that there's programs that work on and they're looking at timetables, right? You got Agenda 2030 that's going on, certain things that come on to go through things, right?
Mhm.
So be putting on the conspiracy hat, as you would as you'd say,
Mhm.
is that you're wondering if this was all predicted or all set up, right?
Mhm.
Like, I'm wondering of the whole thing about this. We said there, it says, well, this, maybe the ships is not actually the real focus of anything. Maybe it's the something else is more important, right?
Mhm.
What do you think?
I don't know. All I keep thinking is if you're not awake
Hmm.
and you could see this was so beautifully and perfectly crafted over many hundreds of years. Because I can remember growing up and my parents listening to the news, at 6 o'clock, and
Hmm.
Walter Cronkite was there. I believe it was him. And the commercial would come on, news you can trust. So,
Hmm.
right? So you think about this. You're talking to a person that really believes the whole thing. Like the government looks after us, they care about us, they're gonna, do whatever they can to help us. And I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying putting this statement out there. And then, of course, well, why would the news want to lie to us? They have no reason to lie to us. That's their job. They're supposed to report what's going on around the world. And well, no, well, you know, medication, there's a reason why we have modern medicine. Like, you start adding up all these little pieces of the puzzle, and you start to try and explain to somebody the corruption and the lies and the untruth in there. You could see how perfectly crafted this has been. So to me, this June 25th incident is just another, don't pay attention to the little man behind the curtain. We want your attention over here, because you know what? There'll be people fighting. There will be. There'll be people that'll be happy. There'll be people that won't be happy. There'll be people that'll be arguing, and it'll create more divide. Plus, people's attention will be over there. So, what's going on while the right hand and the rest of the body is over there? What's going on with the left hand over here that we're not seeing?
Well, that's that whole thing about the wag the dog, right? And that's why you're wondering why certain things. I think I talked to you about this, and I think we talked
Mhm.
about this on the show before. Is that why is does news media all of a sudden just fluctuate and just change the topic on there? And we all know that all mainstream media is now entertainment. It's not news anymore. It's not anything that you look at. The states is the biggest. The USA is the biggest thing there. You got your big mainstream medias. So you got Fox,
Yeah.
CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, and that, and they're so polarized on one side or the other, right? They're not objective anymore. Like when we used to look at news a long time ago, and you can go this into the history, is that they would always have a point counterpoint,
Mhm.
and now it doesn't happen anymore.
Mhm.
And then you're looking at mainstream media, like we I said about that the Harvey Weinstein thing, that was a big thing, but also then you had that the guy there saying that he got strangled by two people there. I can't remember that guy's name now right now, the Jesse Smollett thing, right? And
Oh,
that all of a sudden that focused all the media onto that. It was a hate crime, anti-Trump thing there, and media, the mainstream media, just ran with that, but they forgot about this other part there. Like even this Jeffrey Epstein stuff, this there's still a lot of information and a lot of people connected to this thing, and the media now is going on to TikTok videos and UFOs, right? I did have a point. Do you freeze there,
sorry.
Laura?
Sorry, I froze there for a minute. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, but
I
it's just
froze up here.
but it's just surprising how media and a lot of people, a majority of the populace, just believe their channel that they like, and that, and they don't research. And that this I want to stress this so much to people: go out and research. It doesn't take you any more time than you watching the regular news. Just go out and get point and counterpoint and look at things objectively outside of the box.
But you
That's
know what? Like, I both these everybody that had points in the chat tonight. You're right. I've said this to you myself. I feel really sorry for people that don't have a lot of medical knowledge, because it's hard to know what to believe, what not to believe, what to trust, what not to trust, right? The other part is that I am seeing right now, and this is just in Canada and North America, well, kind of all around the world, there are two or three or four or five different factions. Each has got a different idea about what's going on and where it's going. And some of it gets pretty astral and crazy. But I've gotten to the point now where when people contact me and say, okay, I need to talk to somebody about this. It's like really weird, like super weird. You're gonna think I've lost my mind. I always say, try me. But that's the thing. Like none of us know for sure what this is. Plus, a lot of this sounds so crazy. Like if this really is AI. You and I both had Paul Anthony Wallace. He was on my show, and you met him, and you had him on. And
hmm
he's written some great books. The latest one is Scars of Eden, and he's gone into ancient Sumerian text and tablets and things like this. And I'm seeing this more and more, that this may not necessarily what we're getting here, even in this JAB, that it's coming from possibly off the planet. So you could see why people get a little crazy if you hear stuff like that. Like,
Mhm.
you just don't know what's the truth, what do we do, and how do we fix this? But when people can't get along and they're divided, you know what I'm saying? Or they're
Yeah.
fighting or arguing about petty stuff. Like, I have this saying, and you've heard it a million times. And my youngest son, Dell's stepson, has severe autism, and there are times he'd be raging for 3 to 4 hours when he was really little, and all you could do is just hold him, keep him safe, keep yourself safe, and ride the wave. And one day it came to me, and I use this all the time to this day. And it was, if it's not going to make any difference, 10 minutes alone, or 10 minutes from now, let alone 10 years from now, let it go and pick your battles. And this is what my message has always been. You know what? We need to focus on what we want to see, not what we don't, like living in fear, focusing on, getting yourself in. And you mentioned, I think it was you in our host chat a little bit, I think you might have mentioned, so it was talked about, but getting yourself in, you know great shape. And, or no, actually, it was a podcast, I apologize, I've listened to so many things, god. But focusing on, nutrition, like what can you afford to eat that you can get your health up. I'm not saying sit out in the sun for 5 hours a day, but 20 minutes, a half an hour a day to help you get vitamin D. Because that's what they're finding. Some of the research I've been seeing, that most of the people that did get sick with this, they were very deficient in vitamin D. And vitamin D is actually a huge component of the immune system. But I
Mhm.
also say to people, and then I know you got something to say, is that you know, trying, it's really hard, but trying to focus on something that brings you joy. Even if you're living in the real world and you're depressed, you're angry, you're scared, whatever it may be, focus. And if you, a lot of people say nothing brings me joy. Well, I always say, what did you used to love to do as a child that would make you happy or make you laugh? Like, getting outside, looking into things. And again, this sounds very astral and woo woo, but it's not. This has been around for thousands of years. Grounding or earthing, getting your shoes and socks off. That there's stuff to that. Like, what can we do? Or watching a movie. Like, you and I have the, like, your movie that went out at camp, the Slam and Salmon. Every time we watch the
Yeah.
darn movie, see, you're still laughing. We start laughing. Everybody has a movie like that. Like,
Meat drapes. But but the name is Metropolis. It says meat drapes on
yes.
here.
Yes. And it was one of these, probably not even a B movie. It was like a Z movie. And it is absolutely hilarious. And every time we watch it, like, we just start talking about it and we laugh. Most people have a movie like that, or most people enjoy music. Like, you can feel really crappy, really exhausted, and you plug in your favorite music into your headphones or whatever. That's what I'm talking about. Like, getting back to things like meditation, like, because those are things that you can change. And the other thing I've really shared with people is, and this is hard for all human beings to realize this, is you can't make anybody change. You can't make anybody change. You can't make somebody change their mind, anything like that. It always has to come from within.
Yep. No,
And there's just one more thing I was going to add, and then I'll toss it right back. Is the fact that, just as passionate as those of us feel as we do about the JAB, I am finding other people feel just as passionate about receiving it. Now, again, I would have great respect for somebody if they said that they looked at all the resources, everything, they took a really holistic, well rounded approach and took a look and still felt very strongly about this.
mhm.
Go ahead, then, right?
Yep. No, I agree with everything you said there. Is that yeah, that's the problem, is that a lot of people just don't uh, look at things, they just blindly follow. And I think the biggest propaganda term that has been given there, and this is if you look into Joseph Goebbels or Edward Bernays, and about how propaganda and stuff goes through there. The biggest buzzword that has been given for the past year and a half is trust the science. And this is the biggest
Yeah.
lie that has been told, and people say, well, the science says this. No, actually, you know what, you have to go and think of this stuff yourself and go and research it. If it's like buying prime real estate in Florida swampland, like that's this is how brutal trust the science is. And this word that's being used on mainstream media, so well, you have to trust the science. Well, the science, you know what, actually, you know what, you should actually
This is
trust your,
very dangerous for our democracy. There's another term.
yeah. But if you look into these people, like I said, like Joseph Goebbels or Edward Bernays, and reading the stuff there, and how uh, propaganda works, and how it is there, and how it's used. And I hear this all the time, peer groups of my own and other people. Well, the science says this. What? This is, what are you talking about? Whose science are you talking about?
Or the experts say, okay,
Yeah.
I want to know who are the experts because you've used the word expert. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the experts say, well, I just heard on the news, or I just heard here, the experts say, who are the experts? Like these are the questions I'm talking about asking ourselves when you're being a critical thinker.
You're
Like
right.
who, what, where, when, and how, and
Mm-hmm.
why.
Yep, that too. And then the other part there that you brought up there too is that, like you said, certain music and areas you go to and activities you do
Mhm.
that bring you joy in life that actually change. Like for me, going out to camp,
Mhm.
I think that's a magical place that I'm out there. It's totally different. It's like getting away from.
Thought we might go there today. That's why you guys, if I seem a bit scattered, it's because, like I said, I didn't go to sleep because I had a million things to do. And you are so right. I will just say this, and then please tell them about it because I swear to God, every word you were saying about that place. There's a public beach. The minute we turn down the road, it's like literally going through a alternate reality when it comes to the energy,
Mhm.
everything. And I'm not really astral. Like you can literally feel it, right? You probably
Yeah.
do a better job than I would of explaining it, but
Yeah, well, it's just it's not it's just my area, but the place that I'm at, the place that I found there, and how magically that I found that
you're
place is
meant to find this place, Dell, because
right.
it's
Yeah,
just you might as well tell people. Are you comfortable sharing? You don't have to tell them everything, but what
yeah.
happened, how you found it.
Well, okay. So what it was is my mom at the time was looking at buying a camp or you'd say a cottage down there, or a secondary place out there, and we would gone around for a couple of years, or maybe about a year and a half,
Mhm.
2 years, going around to a whole bunch of different areas. And me and my middle brother, uh, I'm the oldest of three, and we used to go out to this place called Oliver Lake all the time.
Mhm.
And I didn't even know about the other side of the lake. We always used to go to the cliffs that
Yes.
jumping
We
off
all-
there, and we bring out the boat and go water skiing and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And one day, during this 2 year process where my mom was looking for a camp to purchase, and that because she had a camp on Lake Superior, her parents did, that they had for a long time. She always thought about, oh, going out to the cottage, the camp.
Yeah.
We call it camp up here in Northern Ontario, but it's cottage. It's like this is a we built a 2 story home on a side of a lake, anyways.
Mhm.
But it was really weird is that one day we're out there, we're water skiing, and I told my brother, just keep on going. Let's keep on going to the other side of the lake. And as we're going by, uh, I hit a rogue wave. It knocks me off my water skis, and the boat dies. My brother can't start the motor, so I'm laying in the water, and I turn around and I look, and I see this sign in the trees and the
And you didn't
bushes.
have your glasses on either, right?
No,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think I might have been wearing contacts at
Oh,
that time. But anyways, I see this sign on the side in the bush, and so my brother's trying to get the boat started, and he can't come back and grab me there. So I decide I'm gonna swim over to the shore with the skis and that, and go and see what the sign is. So I swim over, get to the bank, throw the skis on the shore, and it's all bush, all there, and there's a for sale sign with a number on it, and it's sort of in there. So I grabbed the sign and I'm looking at it, looking around. It says, "This place is magic. Why am I here? Why is this? Like, this is awesome. So I pulled the sign out of the ground. I stole the sign and threw it on my skis. My brother, all of a sudden, as soon as I grabbed the sign, the boat starts, right?
Ooh.
And it's like, I'm like, wow. So go down and wave my brother to the sign. Hey, I'm over here. Go out there, throw the sign in the boat. And
Yeah.
my mom, we get back in the town. My mom phones the number, says, "Oh yeah, it's for sale." Boom, bought it that day.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the rest is history. But that, if that isn't the most magical story of you wiping out, you happening to be looking in just the right direction while the boat is stalled and finding it. But the reason why I what kind of wanted you to share this story is because I know, again, people might think this is all really astral, new age type of stuff, but we did talk about energy. And no, we didn't say follow the science, but there are laws of physics, right? And I don't, what people don't realize is, some people, is that everything is energy, including your thoughts, your words, and your emotions. The other thing to consider is that everything that is on this planet that is not of nature has been thought up by somebody and created,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
You
Well, you just say one other thing there about when we go to camp, and you can attest to this or agree with this or not or whatever. But do you feel when you go out there, you feel recharged, like a
yeah,
real energy? So like it's sort of is different. It's only 20 minutes outside of town too, right? But it's in this
it is.
valley.
I'm talking about the energy. It is
Yeah.
like it's so hard to explain. There's a reason why I'm saying all this stuff that I'm saying. Is the point is you guys were looking for this. It couldn't have happened more perfectly. You couldn't have predicted how this happened. You didn't even
Hmm.
know that side of the lake existed.
Hmm.
But you put out there that you were looking for a camp, right? And probably every other thing you looked at, not you, like your mom, your parents, whatever, just wasn't right, or it just whatever it was, right?
Hmm.
But in that moment, you found that, like, it couldn't happen more perfectly. It was manifested in whatever way you want to think of it. It was, whether you want to call it coincidence, which I don't believe there are any, but it was
Hmm.
the perfect scenario and circumstance. Sorry, guys. I had the windows open because it was well over 100 degrees here, and somebody
Oh.
decided that they're going to hot rod by. Anyways, my whole point is one person can make a huge difference
Hmm.
by your thoughts, by what you put out there, by what you focus on. Yes, you can make something become eventually a reality by putting your focus in it through chance happenings, whatever it may be. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that, Del? Do you think, because how else do you explain this?
I just think it was a really lucky coincidence, or it was meant to be. Like I don't know. It's just weird. Like I've told you many times, or I've told you stories where I should have been dead
Yep.
millions of times over there. Where I think I have an angel on my shoulder. Like it's things that have happened where I should have stopped, where there was a big, huge, sharp object which would have killed me in a second. And I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. It's just if you go into the paranormal woo woo uh, mysticism stuff of that, I don't know. Maybe there is something like that. Like we think we have a little guy that's which way this is going there, camera wise. Little guy that you made there. We think we
Yep.
have a little person that goes in and plays around with keys and items around in the house, moves them around, and does whatever. I don't know. It's weird. I think there's a lot more to this world and this experience and this reality matrix, whatever you want to call it, the simulation that we're in that some people pay attention to, some people don't. It's I don't know. We've been both looking at things that.
Hmm.
That's why we even actually started both of our channels, anyways, and
Yep.
that is just going and questioning reality and life, and that's the whole thing. And I think it's an interesting journey to go on, and that's the whole thing about finding questions. I don't discount anybody that has anything that's
Hmm.
dealing with them, but I do have a real skepticism on because there's a lot of
I'm
fakeness
going
out there.
you there. I'm going to read a few comments, but there's a reason why I'm going to stop you. So Michelle Pratt was talking about some things we were talking about to raise your vibration, breathing. Yes, she goes, ah, drink water too. That is important, but you have to be very careful where your water comes from because we talked a little bit about this tonight, fluoride, what have you. So, I would do some research into what's in your water where you live locally and see if you can find a better source, maybe, or spring
Hmm.
water, what have you. But there's a reason why I did stop you there. So, Spirit Medium Daniel says, I'm back, and says there is no such thing as coincidence. Everything is meant to be. If you were meant to be, you would be. I can explain all of this, and I know you can, and I can too. But I think the reason why I left it where it went tonight, Daniel, is because just showing that Dell and I have different ideas about different things. So it doesn't mean that we always agree on things and we have different thoughts about it, because I agree with you. I believe there are no coincidences. I believe when things are meant to happen, that is the perfect time for them to happen. I believe also when you want something and it doesn't happen or it doesn't manifest, there is a reason for that. And if we're able to look back objectively with time, sometimes it can be a day, sometimes it could be a year, sometimes it can be a couple of years. When we look back, how many times have people said to themselves, oh God, thank God that didn't happen. Imagine where I'd be now, right? So everything happens in the perfect timing. Dell has a little bit different thoughts on it. So that's why we're kind of going where we are with this discussion. It's because everybody's not on the same belief system, if you will. The last comment I'm going to add is he says, if you were meant to be dead, you would be dead. If you're meant to be, you're meant to be here for a reason. And I believe that. What are your thoughts? I believe that from the conversations we've had, you know that as well too, right, Dell?
Yeah, see, I have a different point
Yes.
on there about coincidences and stuff like that, right? That everything is for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And there it comes into the argument about free choice, then, and this is the part that sort of contradicts coincidences and free choice. So it depends on what side of the fence that you're on.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can look at, then this can even go even further that, okay, well, if you're looking multi-dimensional universe is that okay? Well, because I didn't go left, then my other body in the other universe went right, and then where the whole choice is there. I don't know. I think I believe that there's free choice. And like I said, like I'm spiritual. I believe in God. I believe He gave humanity free choice.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes into the parts of with coincidences that everything is pre-programmed, that eliminates free choice. So I'm sort of it's a different fence to sort of go on both sides of this,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very good conversation. We could probably do about 4 hours just
Yeah.
talking about but we're not going to do that anyways because we're only got about 10 more minutes left here,
Yeah.
anyways. But good points there, and I like all the stuff that's been talked in the chat room there, and you know what I says. Good. This is food for thought. I don't know. I put it
Well,
out there. It
to
says
hear other
free
people's
choice
point.
and coincidence.
It's good to hear other people's point of view. And again, I hear what you're saying, Daniel, and yes, I tend to believe that, but I always say I don't have all the answers for myself. And yes, I hear what you're saying, and I always say I believe there are no coincidences. But everybody has a different school of thought, different stream of thought, and that's why it's nice to have a discussion about it. And
Mhm.
then you can even get into the theory, which is another show, I'll probably do some time, about the fact that I truly believe that we live thousands of lives, that, we choose our parents, we choose our children, we choose the people that we have our inner soul group, if you will. And then there's some people that we only incarnate maybe every 3 or 5 lifetimes. And then, once you start getting into that, and depending on where people are, when it comes to, I don't want to call it self discovery, I don't want to call it spirituality, but being open to other schools of thought, if you will. And
Right.
go ahead.
No, it says yeah, and that they're all theories, and that's the thing. There, they're not saying. And just to tell the people out there that are listening, there, these are all just theories that are being looked around there. They're not saying this is what we actually believe, right? Or for me myself, I can't say for what Laura does because she's her own person. She can believe everything that she wants to believe. But that's the great thing of our relationship is that we bounce ideas and theories off each other, and we look at things. And even in the chat in the comments here, it says a lot of this stuff is could be plausible, could not be plausible. I don't know. This is all stuff to look into, right?
Well, like I said, Michelle DeRoche and I, especially in the paranormal host chat, I said this so many times, and so have other people, that I don't think we're ever really truly going to know all the answers or even with 100% certainty of these answers
Mm-hmm.
until we transition back home, is what I call it. Whether you want to say you pass away, whatever your words are, because even with say near death experiences, I've studied them for over 40 years, and with being a nurse for many years, I still am a nurse. I'm just not able to go back to the physical part. um you know, like you get many answers, you hear many different experiences, but and that's what people usually call it, that I have found, when if they've had a positive experience, is going back home. Some people
Mm-hmm.
will believe, I mean, I work with all different kinds of people too. When I do readings and healing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
some people claim to be atheists, some people claim to, you know, whatever it is. To me, you know what, I try not to, I always say it's not my job to judge, but getting back to the whole point that I don't think any of us will know what the true answers, all of them are. And
Right, and there's theories out there is that our existence here on Earth is either purgatory or is hell, right?
I,
That's
right,
and I think our fearless leader of the network there, Joe Montalvo, has said that we
yeah,
live in
purgatory.
purgatory here,
Thoughts,
and that
those thoughts.
and right.
Yeah,
So this is a waypoint in between point there to discover and learn where you're going to go. Right, you sort of
yeah,
like either you take the right door or the left door,
yeah,
right? And that's what you're here on this time. There, if you take the wrong door, you end up coming back to the beginning of the ride again. You have to run it around again one more time.
yeah,
So that these are all theories there, folks out there.
yeah.
Religion is for religion itself.
Mhm.
I believe in spirituality. I believe in that there is an ultimate one God. So if you have questions about that, I don't care. It doesn't
Well,
matter.
we'll have to end it.
That's my belief, anyways.
Well,
So
let's end it on this comment here because it's a good comment. Um, Michelle says, "For all we know, everyone is right." And then she said her mom had a near death experience. Maybe we'll do a
Mhm,
show on near death experiences. I think I've had someone a couple months ago, but I'd love to hear, because there's a lot of people that have had these experiences but aren't always open. And if that's
mhm.
something maybe you want to discuss in the chat. The last thing, Spirit Medium Daniel says, no such thing as hell or purgatory. You're here to learn and fulfill a purpose. And again, I
That's a
appreciate
theory. Right?
your belief. And again, I tend to believe more along the lines, or from what I've studied and so far what I've come across. I'm trying to be very careful how I choose my words here because it's my belief system, but it doesn't mean that it's everybody else's. But
Mhm.
we've had a fulfilling conversation here, guys, tonight, and this is kind of how it goes. Sometimes we get way more chat in the chat room. Sometimes when we've got a guest that has a lot to share, I do try to keep an eye on the chat, but sometimes we don't get a lot of breaking conversation. And yeah, Michelle, that's a good question for another time. Your purpose maybe to experience hell. I don't know. So, Deli, where can they find you? And we'll do this again, folks. We have conversations like this all the time, Del and I, when we do shows.
Yeah, you can find me Tuesday nights at 9 Eastern on UPRN here on the channel. And yeah, it's a delicious recipe where we just talk like it, almost like this there too. Just we put in topics, good, bad. We throw everything in the pot and we see how it tastes at the end. And you know what? Because everybody doesn't like what everybody cooks all the time there, but some people can go and learn something from that and maybe add their own spice to it and go from there and make something bad good or good bad, right? It's just that's the beauty of cooking it's chemistry for
Except
the
that you're not
soul.
doing a cooking show. I'm
Yeah.
glad you came back to listen to Dave. I want to call you David. I've got my glasses on. Sorry, Daniel. And thanks for being here, Michelle. And we had Carrie too. Sometimes we had a different mix of people tonight. We really enjoy having you all here. We
Yeah.
said Michelle says, enjoy your time. All thanks. Great show. Thank you. Just very quickly, I want to let you guys know you can find me if you ever want to book a reading or a healing session on facebook.com/the Angel Rock. I have two groups on Facebook, Paranormal University for all things paranormal, and the Angel Rocker Tribe for all things like what some of the things we've been talking about tonight in the way of spirituality, energy, chakras, power of the mind, things like that. And I will be back next Monday, same time, same space with Michael Roser. We're going to be talking all things UFOs, ETs. Sometimes we get into really deep things like Akashic Records. We just go wherever the conversation flows. I want to send you guys all so much love and light. If you get a chance, very quickly, I will be on Dr. Rima Lebo's show on People for People Radio from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow with the rest of the tribunal. Love to have you there. It's going to be an interesting discussion if you're able to attend. And yeah, we will see you again very soon. Okay, have a great night, everybody, or morning or afternoon, wherever you may be. Much love and light. Now we got to wait for the Joe. Thank you for subscribing, Daniel. I do know what your name is. I need to wear my glasses. This print is like super, super small. Plus, you know why? Because Dell has two brothers with names with D's.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
similar, right?
Yeah. So the 3 Ds.
Mm-hmm.
Del
Mm-hmm.
David Daniel.
Yes. Yes. So that's why I keep getting mixed up. I thought I might as well just tell you because you're probably thinking, can this woman read? So we're just waiting for Joe. We're still live, guys. We know we are. So we're hoping he can hear us, right?
And
Joe.
no, it actually works out good. I should just play some music in the background and then see if he'll just like, hey, you can't be playing that. It's not copyrighted. What's going on? What's going on?
I'll probably have to text him. I probably will give him a minute or two. Usually you can see him playing in the background.
Uh,
So actually, usually he comments on all our pages at the beginning. Let's see, did he do it? No, but usually when he's done, he does just to close off the page. So I don't see him. I may have to text him. So Monday nights, though, if we had to go longer, because I think there's an hour between our show and Dave
Oh,
Watts.
yeah, yes, and I should tell if there are people still listening there. We got Varla Ventura coming on the 15th
Of June.
uh, of June this month here in I guess what it is 2 weeks. So bring in, and we're gonna. Hopefully, it's not the end of a cycle, anyways, but it is close to the summer equinox, and we're gonna discuss more stuff of the history of lore of little people, old magic, and stuff like that. And really enjoyable guest, and I hope you guys tune in for that one there at
Yeah,
9
but
p.m.
we need to let them know who Varley is. We try and have her on about 4 times a year. And she is an author of all things paranormal,
Mm-hmm.
werewolves, banshees, fairies, vampires, the paranormal, the strange. And she is such a phenomenal guest. Like, you could listen to her all night long. Everybody loves her usually when we have her on. That's why Dell and I team up to have her on together
Yeah,
because she really is awesome and so knowledgeable. So you guys
yeah, and
love.
we could have actually met face to face there the last time there when she was out. She was actually just on the other side of the border from us, like about basically an hour away, up with her child, and we could have met, but because of border restrictions, that no longer was able to happen.
That was the spring equinox when we had her.
Yeah,
I'm gonna text Joe for us here because I don't know where he is. He's probably just letting us check. 'Cause like I said, there's an hour in between Dave Scott and ourselves. So hang on. Hi, Joe. I'm done. Let's say we're done. So, and Daniel, I will get a hold of you. Like I said, I saw your message. I wasn't able to read it, but I saw some of it. But yes, this is how all my shows go. But my show is always about my guest. So you know that, and about the work that you do.
Right, that's right. It's all about me tonight.
I live with you. Well, if you tune into our network, you will hear Joe Montaldo tell everybody, because we have quite a few Canadian guests. Actually, Dell and I have been on Paranormal Survivor before, and one of the psychics who commented on our episode, we did not know her. She has 2 nights of radio shows here. We know her quite well now, but she's Canadian. So Joe has started this rumor. I have no idea why, because I've never hit a human being in my life, but all Canadian women beat their men. So you will hear, and people will joke about it in the comments, that is Dell in the cage, because that's what Joe has started. Isn't that nice of him?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
He's back. He's back. I see him. I see him. There he is. Right, Joe?
Yes.
I said beat them bitches bad. That's right. Lock them shits in a cage and beat their asses, man. Don't put up no gosh damn shit. Hey, look, I feel for all you Canadians when these 2 million cougars come up into y'all's country. I feel for all you men. Let me put it this way: men of Canada, if you're 16 and over, run.
You know what?
Maybe move to England.
Stick them all on Mr. Pink Pants. We didn't call him Justin Castro while we're on air right now, but that's normal. We got Joe calling him that, because that's another thing we'll tell you very quickly. If you wonder why we call him Justin Castro, look up a picture of him, Justin Trudeau, with Fidel Castro at the same age.
Oh yeah, man. I should check
Yeah,
it out.
they're twins.
Mm-hmm.
More importantly than that, there are a lot. I didn't realize until I looked into it. There are a lot of photos of his daddy. I mean, his daddy and Castro, but his mama and Castro. Quite a lot. And come to find out, she did spend quite a lot of time down there when Daddy was in Canada.
His father.
Okay. I told you all this, and this is a documented fact that's on there. Is that for 12 months to 8 months before Justin was born, she was in Cuba hanging out with Fidel and his brother the whole time. And Mick Jagger was also going down to Cuba as well. Okay,
he don't look like Mick, thank God.
That's right. That's why he looks like Fidel. And if you take a picture of Fidel Castro when he was 18 and Justin Trudeau when he's 18, they look like twins, chimera twins.
They look a lot alike.
I'm sending it to you right now. I don't know if you can screen share it, because his mother, there's Fidel Castro holding him as a baby.
Yep.
Here, I'm sending it right now to Messenger to you.
Yeah.
So
and this, this is the thing there. And if you look at Pierre Elliott Trudeau, his father, when he was 18, and you look at Justin Trudeau, they look like aliens. Like they don't even look anywhere close to the same thing. And anybody in her family. But the whole thing is that Fidel Castro and Justin Trudeau look identical, like they could have been like cut from the same mold.
Yep, right down to the smirk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bad part. Let me show it here. No, what to believe?
There you go. There it is.
But that's the little one. Yeah, I don't want the little one. I had the big one out. What's going on here?
You're just gonna blow it up. Blow it up.
Okay, let's see.
Chat, you guys will get to see this while we got Joe.
Let me see. Hold on real quick. Let me go back to share.
Yep.
Okay, window.
And the thing is funny is that anybody that keeps pointing this out, there's they keep on putting lawsuits against them or cease and desist orders. They don't want it known.
Okay, that's Fidel Castro holding him as a baby, and his mom to the right.
Margaret Trudeau, yeah.
Oh, that's
those
not
the aliens, supposedly from the Dumbs that you said are from a movie. I sent you that one.
Let's go back. There we go. Look at these faces, man.
It's so hard to see.
I mean, no, man. To me, it's. I mean, look, you can see it. I'm up at the camera. Let's see. First off, they got the same eyebrows, which I find weird. If now his hat was off, we could see better because he's wearing a hat. He's got this little scruffy ass beard. Man, we need to put a little scruffy beard on here. He does. He's got the same lip.
Yeah.
Got the same upper lip. The only difference is his nose is a little pudgy. He looks real close. He might
Like
have
he
his mama's
looks
eyes though, because he's something about the way the inset to the in the center, but he looks a lot like the guy. I'm just
he
saying,
looks
you know.
nothing like his brother, because one of his brothers went mysteriously missing. They've never found him.
Yeah.
But the other brother, I think it's Sasha, that's still alive. He looks nothing like Justin. He looks like what Pierre Elliott Trudeau looked like, and believe me, that man was not a nice looking man
No,
at
he
all.
was a he was a crazy frog.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Looney Tunes out there, man. Anyway, let me drop you out of here before people start coming and
Happy
getting
night,
us.
everybody.
It's like the Twilight Zone or the Outer
Yeah.
Realm. Yes, it's the Outer Realm.